Welcome to episode 2 of my series of videos on possible NHD topics for this year. I'm your host, Mr. Richards. Let's get started. Just a reminder, as always, our theme this year has to go around conflict and compromise. That is the national theme, and we are picking topics around that. Number 2, let me also remind you that we are, for my class, picking topics in U.S. history and around early Native American time, all the way going up through the Civil War and Reconstruction. No further than that. So we know that, and episode 1 was all about Native Americans, pre-Europeans, and you can check out my other video to learn more about that. For this one, we have a lot more available. We're going to check out 6 topics that I think are pretty good, going through colonial history and early European settlement. So, 6 topics, starting with, first, Pocahontas marrying John Rolfe. This is a good little topic because I think it's nice seeing the Native Americans mixing culture with the Europeans, and this marriage between the two kicks off a short peace between the two sides, between Jamestown and the Powhatan, and so your topic could explore how that peace manifested, how long did it last, but then more importantly, the peace doesn't last, so checking out why it kind of falls apart and goes into conflict. Plus, Pocahontas is going to go with John Rolfe back to Europe, and she's going to have kind of a nasty end as well. So you can really explore this topic between the two sides, the compromise between marriage, the peace, and then the conflict that ensues between the Native Americans and the English later. So that is topic number 1. I think it's pretty cool. Number 2, we have John Smith. John Smith, he is going to take charge of the colony in the beginning. I think John Smith is a really neat character in history. And this one is specifically about his policy of work or starve. It's going to get so bad in the early Jamestown days that he is going to take over as leadership, and he is going to say, you must work or you don't eat. And this was really so the colony's survival was hanging in the balance, and he decided to take over and make it happen for him. So a topic could be, how did he take over? Why was he so uncompromising in his attitudes towards you working? The gentlemen. Why did he have to force them? Did they agree to work? What was the relationship like? Was there conflict in between? Was there infighting at Jamestown? Then you can also look at what happens when he leaves later. He goes back to Europe, and the colony falls apart after that. So was that due to conflict, things like that? So I think that we're going to do a lot with Jamestown in class, but we're not going to touch on this work or starve part a lot. So I think it could be a neat little topic for looking at conflict and the lack of compromise with John Smith. Number 3, this is a cool topic: the Mayflower Compact. The other group of settlers besides Jamestown that really comes over first for early United States history is the Mayflower and the Plymouth Pilgrims. Really famous for their first Thanksgiving, but what I think is really neat is the Mayflower Compact, because they're on the boat and they realize they've reached a destination that they're not expecting to land at, and they feel like their laws don't apply to this land, so they feel like they need to make some laws right now. And the Mayflower Compact is what they come up with, and it's a neat little agreement to make sure that they have a governing document to help them out in their early days. And this is usually what people look at for one of the earliest examples of democracy in the colonies. And so your topic could be, how did this agreement or this compromise between the settlers, how did it impact them? How did it help them survive? And then what does it mean for later? Does this, can we really look at this as a founding, democracy document? Does this set the trend for later democracy that comes down the road? So I think this is a great topic for, long-term effects, a neat compromise topic. Topic number 4, we've got Anne Hutchinson. Anne Hutchinson is really neat. I love Anne Hutchinson because she is, kind of being a pioneer and a real boss for an era of history when women, are kind of silent at this time because of just the culture and the society. Anne Hutchinson is going to come along, and she's going to challenge the norms in Massachusetts. She's going to start preaching in her home these new ideas, and it's really not common for women to preach in their home and to attract men and to have people listen to the ideas of a woman. And so she's going to go up against the government and the people in charge of Massachusetts who really have a say about how religion should be run and that it's not right for Anne to be doing what she's doing. And so a topic here could be about her conflict, her getting banished. Did she agree to leave, or was it the society kicking her out? Was there any compromise there? Could they have compromised, and let her do her thing, or was it just an impossible situation? Was there only conflict here? I think it could be a good topic for looking at, societal conflict, gender norms conflict. There's a couple of different things here. So check out Anne Hutchinson. She's a really great topic for people who want to do something on women's history in colonial times. Number 5, we have this famous Manhattan deal. The Dutch are going to buy the island of Manhattan for a famous $24. Now this $24 is kind of a legend, kind of a myth, so you could do some research on, is that $24 a real thing? That's neat. This topic is kind of unknown to a lot of people. This could be a neat compromise topic. So the Native Americans are going to sell this island of Manhattan for real cheap to the Dutch, and so you could look at that agreement. Was that a fair agreement? Was it not? Did the Native Americans feel like they were protecting themselves by it? Did the Dutch feel like they were avoiding some kind of conflict with the Native Americans by doing this purchase? Did they feel like it was all cheap, or was it for safety? Was it for profit? Was it for gain? There's just some neat areas of avenues of research that I think that could be surrounding this popularized myth of the $24 deal. So research that, and when you do, if you want to do this topic, check out this guy. He is going to be at the center of this deal. Finally, number 6. My favorite topic of the colonial time, only because it's such an impactful topic for colonial history, and that is King Philip's War. So King Philip is the son of Massasoit. Massasoit is going to do an original deal with the Pilgrims that's going to have some peace with the Pilgrims and the Native Americans, but over time that peace breaks down because Massasoit, this guy's father, he is going to, agree to more land deals, and the English are going to start moving further inland. And so eventually, when his son, this guy, Metacom, comes to power, he is going to finally say, enough is enough. Too many things are going on that I don't like, and he's going to start King Philip's War. And he is going to, start raiding towns and villages and leaving everything in his, to the dust. He's going to destroy everything, and he's going to take out a major percentage of the population in Massachusetts and New England at the time. And so I think this could be a good topic about how compromise breaks down over time. At what point did Metacom, King Philip, what point did he feel that he could no longer compromise with the English anymore? That the Puritans were just too much for him. What point did that break down, and then the conflict that happened? What, could he have been stopped from doing all the violence that he did, or was this just a necessary reaction to the breakdown of the compromise that his father had reached? So I think King Philip's War is a really neat topic, and I really recommend someone to really dive into this one. There's a lot of different avenues I think that could go on this, and a lot of long-term impacts with King Philip's War. The Europeans after this point are really going to take a much, much harder stance on Native Americans because of King Philip's War. So that is my last of my highlighted topics for this era in history. There is so much more out there, so I encourage you to go back, check out the timeline, check out this site, and look at the era and see if there's something that might catch your eye for a topic in this era of history. All right, see you next time for episode 3, which is going to be on the American Revolution. Bye.